Thinking we lost Mr. Pettit.
What happens when your host disappears, huh?
Geez, Andy, if you're going to be in your shop, you should have some cool project in the background so we'd think you were real crafty.
No, I just have a bunch of junk around me.
Yeah, but if you just had one project, we wouldn't know the difference.
That's true. I could probably make up something that you wouldn't know any better.
I text Mr. Pettit and said, we lost you. And he said he's working on it.
Right. How's everybody doing this week? Everybody surviving the lockdown?
I'm not sure, but I think we might be on YouTube, FYI.
All right. We'll keep it civil then.
I had a Wi-Fi failure.
Oops.
I'm at the school. So I just did a little reset. Let me try again. Everybody still there? I hope. Getting a thumbs up. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. All right. Now I don't have a warm fuzzy. Let me check something.
A little caption up in the upper left says we're live on YouTube.
Yep, I had to check to make sure it didn't change my station. It happened right while I was trying to log in. It is. I just checked the other computer. We are live, so the whole world can see how inept I am at managing a computer. So,
Well,
to you,
I
Andy.
think we're all here. So we'll call our special meeting of the Cove School Board to order. And if everyone wants to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I don't know if we stand, if you have a flag nearby. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I just realized I was probably doing the Pledge of Allegiance all by myself to the audience. So
We were all joining you.
all right, good.
There's a flag over my shoulder. So,
So I think first up on the agenda was a first reading of a policy, an AR policy. So we'll turn that over to Mr. Pettit.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. The policy is what we had discussed at our last meeting, the general idea. And when we got the direction out from the state saying 24 credits is their guidance for anybody graduating high school this year, and telling us, well, don't add any, well, or don't make the requirement higher. We had originally been looking at, and I had been studying it, being a change of policy to hold students harmless to be at 24.5. When you do the actual math, it should be, if it was straight up, it would be 24.25. So split the difference, align with what the state says, make it 24. And this is actually a change of policy to hold harmless kids that are in current 9th through 12th grade, and it will apply to anybody coming to us as well. Reverts back for the class of 24, reverts back to 26 credits to the same requirements we had. The changes to the requirements are to remove 1 social studies credit and 1 elective credit. And it still meets the requirements set by the state. In addition, it also waives the state testing and demonstrated essential skills for current seniors and current juniors. The juniors is because the testing window is supposed to be now, and they're not given the opportunity to do that. And for seniors, the other methods, demonstrated proficiency, would be happening right now, and they're not able to do that. And that, you should have the policy, I hope, in front of you or accessible. If not, I can put it up on the screen if you'd like to see something.
So just a question, Earl. I know, English is sort of the only one that we don't have a lot of wiggle room on. So for current seniors, I'm assuming we're doing all that we can to make sure that folks that are on track are getting those credits. For the other current high school kids that are affected by that, juniors, freshmen, sophomore, juniors, how are we going to handle that if for some reason a student doesn't get this quarter of an English credit? Do we have a plan, or are we thinking ahead of that somehow to be able to make that up? Looks like we maybe just lost Earl.
He unmuted me, so I don't know. I thought that was my cue.
Yeah, he unmuted you and then he disappeared. So
I know.
you're it, I guess.
We've talked about some contingency plans. Nothing that we wanted to really put out there as a standard. Just we've got some ideas for something that we could do as a fallback. But
Okay.
yeah, nothing that we want to publish or anything like that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think the idea is everybody gets that credit now while they can. Just thinking of, there's obviously probably going to be some scenarios, between 4 classes that, for one reason or another, someone doesn't maybe get this quarter, and just want to make sure we're trying to account for that and planning ahead a little bit.
Right.
I guess the question I would have specifically with seniors, but pretty much any of the kids that you and Lisa are both dealing with, have you had anybody that you have struggled to make contact with? Are we able to reach all the kids pretty well? And I guess that's a question for Matt as well.
Yeah, I currently have 2 seniors that I have not heard back from. I have one of those. I can track them as far as what they're doing on Canvas, which is the learning management system that I'm using. So I can see if they've been on there, if they're doing anything. So one of those 2 has actually participated a little bit in Canvas, but I haven't actually gotten an email back from either one of those.
Yeah. And the only senior that I have in an advanced math class was struggling because they didn't have internet access, and they got their hotspot delivered yesterday. So I would anticipate that I'll start hearing a lot more from them.
What about younger or the underclassmen? Are we reaching most kids?
Yes.
Yeah,
John, teachers are doing a real good job. I'll just share my perspective with you, and Teresa and Lisa jump in as you see a need. From my perspective, here's what I'm seeing. So as a high school staff, we're having a Zoom meeting on Monday mornings, and kind of reviewing what's working well, what we need to improve on. Each teacher has an opportunity to share their perspective of what they're doing and how they're doing it. Mixed in with that is opportunity to identify kids that we're struggling to connect with. And then outside of the meeting, emails and phone conversations regarding the same thing. Which kids are we having trouble connecting with, and how do we gang up on them and find a way to engage them? So for the most part, most kids are connected somewhere, not necessarily across the board, but we're seeing squeaky wheel gets the grease might be one way to put it. The more pressure and opportunities that we present, more opportunity they have to respond.
yeah, the strategy that I'm using as far as English goes, because it is that one class that everybody has to have for 4 years, I've asked students to fill out a form which will indicate what letter grade they're working towards, or in the case of seniors, if they're choosing to just go with a P. So the very minimum requirement in order to get that 0.25 credit. And so far I've had a really good response in all classes. I won't say that any class is at 100% yet. However, I am hearing back from almost all of them, and really pleased to see that the majority of the seniors are working for an A or a B.
Good. Yeah, thanks for that update. That's great.
Oh, I'm back here again, Andy. I moved to a different part of the building, and maybe I'll get a little better here.
Yeah, I think I had a question on what we're doing for those kids in English that maybe weren't getting connected or whatnot. And I think John had some of the same questions. So I appreciate Lisa and Teresa and Matt answering those questions for us.
To summing it up the best way I can see, we've got the majority of kids are engaged, and they're going for credit. I want you to make sure you understand why Teresa is asking up front what grades they're going for. It helps guide how she's instructing. It's not locking them into anything. I mean, a kid says, "Oh, I'm going for an A," and they don't achieve that. Well, they still can get a P. That choice is still at the end. It's just
Sure.
For the seniors, it's tiered. It's you do these assignments and you're going to get a P. You do these plus this and we'll move you up. So if they're going to do anything close to the regular course load that would have been planned, that's how they can get an A.
So I'll throw this other question out here, and I don't know that we have an answer to this. When colleges, obviously everybody's in the same situation that we are right now. And Oregon colleges, we can probably make an educated guess as to how they're going to treat things. For students that are looking at out-of-state colleges or private colleges or whatnot, do we have a sense on how schools are going to treat this quarter, essentially? I mean, I know everybody's in the same boat, and like I said, there probably isn't an answer to the question. But.
Well, there is. How they're going to treat it is Oregon didn't change their graduation requirements. So on the transcripts and on the records, across the board in Oregon, it's going to show that the kids are in 24 credits.
Right.
So there isn't a huge adjustment as far as what they're looking at. If a kid's going to college, I'm sure that our counselor is advising them that they probably want to get a letter grade, because especially if you're going somewhere else, they're not going to quite get that. Why do you have a pass, a P on a grade? But every one of the college or every one of the schools in the state, well, I shouldn't say that. Most of the schools in the state are not offering the option of letter grades at all. That it is just a plain old P or a no credit. I felt like that took away opportunities for kids that wanted to achieve, and that's why we adopted that at the last meeting.
Yeah.
And also I visited with Chelsea Rohan, that's the guidance counselor at LeGrand High School. And then she contacted some other people. The Oregon University system, all of the state colleges are exactly that. It's sort of being referred to as an asterisk term, so everybody knows. Everybody in the nation knows where we're at. I did talk to Maria Brunet, who's the financial aid officer in Eastern. And then I also talked to Tammy, I think it's Pellis from Blue Mountain Community College. And they're all saying the same thing. It's a pass doesn't affect your GPA. It's not going to affect your college admissions. It's not going to affect your financial aid offerings, unless it's a private scholarship that requires a certain number of graded credits or something. But for the most part, everybody's on the same page moving forward. The seniors that I have, they've already contacted their colleges to make sure that that's actually the case, the ones that have already accepted and stuff. So.
Great, thanks. I guess if there's no further questions, I would entertain.
Do you want a motion?
That would be awesome.
Okay, here we go. I move to accept the first reading of policy IKF-AR as presented and direct the superintendent to compile public or board member input concerning the revision for the presentation during the April regular meeting.
I would second that.
I heard a motion by Hannah and a second by John. All in favor, please say aye or
Aye.
thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I did not hear any opposed, so the motion passes. Thank you very much. So I think next on the agenda, just trying to pull it up here. We have a couple of just a couple of updates, I think, for how we're doing as far as distance learning, and we'll turn that over to Mr. Pettit.
Okay, well, I think you've already heard some of the input from school staff. Matt and I have attended each other's meetings the last couple of weeks. Every Monday, the secondary staff meets via Zoom, and on Tuesdays, the elementary staff meets. And those meetings have well, the highlight of both teams meetings are the go-arounds, and that is hearing what each person is doing and how things are going in each of the places. For the elementary, I can't say it any other way. It's going very well. Yeah, you'll have 10% that we will struggle with, and we will struggle to get to do work or to stay engaged. And those 10%, the focus is to to maintain that connection and continue to build a connection through the year. Because in the end, for the elementary kids, we already know that they're all going to be in the next grade next year. So it doesn't have that any kind of a long-term impact that the credit system does at the high school level. And the high school is doing way better than I ever thought would be with the high school as far as engagement goes. Not that our teachers aren't great. Yeah, we knew that. The issue is where the kids going to engage, do the work, and be working. And the majority of them are, and they're working to achieve. We know that there's some that are not going to. And that's what this policy revision is all about. We're not in our position where we can overcome those barriers and build for equity. Surprisingly, they're doing well. It'll be interesting to ask the same question at the May regular meeting, because after another 5 weeks of this, a couple of weeks is starting to get kind of old, kind of tiresome. The challenge that the staff at home are having is that they're working too much. And that's the truth. They are getting up early and they're staying up late and they're working weekends. Because when you're at home and you're working from home, it's easy to go over to your computer and continue to work into the evenings and not try to keep regular hours. So we keep reminding them of that. The food service operation is stabilized at give or take, but around 500 meals per day. That's 250 breakfasts, 250 lunches, with a fairly close, even split between seniors and students. It continues. It's a streamlined system now. It's working very smoothly. And we are delivering items routinely. We have a delivery system set up. Last week, I think Ted McBride was dressed all in brown and he was going out doing deliveries. So that's where we are. What questions does anyone have?
I just have a clarifying question. Someone had asked me or was under the impression we were delivering meals 6 days a week. Is that correct or incorrect?
No, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday.
That was my understanding. I just wanted to be
But
sure.
if you see staff working, they actually do the Monday preparation Sunday afternoon. So
Gotcha.
that's why it'll appear they're working 6 days a week, but we're only delivering 5. On Fridays, they leave early because they don't prepare Monday's meal till Sunday.
The new kitchen still working out good?
Oh, it's awesome. Trying to get a kid to do a project, working with a couple of the high school teachers to try to get somebody to do the project instead of me walking around saying, look at this place, to get a kid to put it together, some kind of some kind of video walkthrough presentation of it. Yeah, the punch list is almost eliminated. We're just about there with the total completion. And it certainly is nice. When we had a meeting this morning, and when they zoomed in, we had the IAs participate in our elementary meeting for a few minutes, and they showed us with their phones and their camera what's going on in the kitchen at that moment. It was pretty impressive to look at it through video. I mean, I've been there a lot when they're actually doing it, but it's pretty impressive. They've got it laid out so they're able to produce 500 meals in a couple of hours.
Great. I mean, I guess any Lisa and Teresa, are any feedback from you guys on things that we could be doing differently, better? Teacher morale. I mean, that's one thing I have kind of thought about lately. It's a pretty stressful time for everybody. I mean, I'm still working full time, and it's hard to come home and then try to think about reality. So, teachers hanging in there. They've got things at home and kids to take care of too. So, everybody doing okay?
Yeah, I think it's really important. Outside of the Zoom meetings on Monday, there's a lot of communication between staff all the time, multiple times during the day, through the weekend, just trying to, come on, we can get through this. Everybody keep, I think checking in on each other a lot too, when somebody's really struggling, to just try to keep them looking forward instead of looking back. I think that's a huge thing. Honestly, the staff seems to be doing really, really good relative to what we were talking about, which is, if you've got kids that are working during the day, or maybe they're babysitting, or their computer's being used by a sibling, we have to be available to them in the evenings. We have to be available on Fridays, Saturday, Sunday afternoon, whatever. So I think it's really important that, yes, we don't wear ourselves out, but at the same time that the kids know we really, really are there for them.
Yeah, I would agree. The Monday meetings are really important for us as a staff, just to be able to check in with each other. But yeah, we do email each other throughout the week. And hey, has anybody heard from this student? Because they are MIA in my class, and I'm really concerned. And also, I will say that I think administration is doing a fabulous job supporting us. And that's incredibly valuable and very, something that keeps us moving forward. And I will also say that I really appreciate the framework for this grading policy that you put together, because I agree that, if a student is not going to put in any work at all, they should not be receiving credit. And I fully support that. And I think students understand that as well. They're not going to get something for nothing. And I am just so proud of the students who are stepping up and deciding that, I'm going to give it a go, and I'm going to work, and I'm going to try to make this thing happen. And I had a student say, man, he says, I never thought I would say this, but I miss school. He says, because this online thing is hard. And to hear him say that, and honestly, he's communicating with me all the time. He's just like, Mrs. Farrell, I can't figure out how to do this, and so we spend a lot of time emailing back and forth, and he is just stepping up and working hard. And so I will say that I'm quite impressed with how these students are overcoming the frustrations and still putting forth the effort.
Yeah, really appreciate it. I mean, from myself personally, and hopefully I speak on behalf of the rest of the school board, we really truly appreciate the dedication that you guys are putting into this. I know it's a tough situation for everyone, so it doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you.
Just a couple other things. I think we're about there as far as student access on the internet. There were 3 hotspots delivered today. And I think we've got that about taken care of. I'd have to ask Matt if we're at 100%, but we're pretty close if we aren't.
We're close.
Okay.
Yes. So the kids that had 0 that I was aware of, kids that had 0 internet access, that's been remediated as of yesterday afternoon. And they're connecting with teachers yesterday evening, this morning. So that's working. We have a couple other people with spotty internet that we're trying to help out. Still working on that.
And the other thing I need to mention is that despite the idea that school is closed, we are tapped out on labor, and everybody is working full-time or more. And I have a pool of substitutes and volunteers in my back pocket that I can go to if we need to. But right now, every employee of the district is fully engaged and employed and busy. Just a little side note, something I noticed today when I got 3 more applications today. I think it must be the word about our teachers doing such a great job in this kind of a thing, or maybe it's just coincidental, but we received 11 new applications so far this month for the charter school admittance for next year.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. I hadn't really thought about that, but yeah, this is the time for that. Are those mostly elementary or high school, or what's the mix there?
The 3 I received today was 1 junior high, 2 high school.
What's our capacity? You know, what kind of room do we have to work with next year?
That's a really good question, because, you know, how many students we're actually serving today and how many we have on our ADM don't match. The last I saw, we had room for about 18 students, right? You know, but you know, some classes, some grades are full and some have lots of space. And it's a grade by grade basis. As a reminder, June 1st, I'll run the lottery. That's what the policy says, and we'll see who's admitted.
Great.
But it is at least a good sign that as far as our stability and enrollment goes, we're going to stay stable. We have had, and I expect that we may have some kids that move from the district as a result of the shutdown of industry, or just because it happens. Every year we have a few that move, and we'll pick up a few.
Great. Good. Thanks for the discussion. Does anyone else have anything they want to bring up this evening? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make your motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All right, I heard a motion by Steve and a second by Hannah. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Any opposed? Hearing none, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you guys for being available.